Almost every assessment that you do at university is in some way going to be marking you on your understanding of theory and literature of a particular topic. It's why you're at university. It's the thing that makes you special. It's the thing that makes you unique. And it's what you're going to be armed with when you go out to the world of work. So that is something that you are always going to be assessed on in some way, shape or form. And in this quick video, I'm going to give you some advice on how you can increase your marks for that particular criteria. So let's have a think about how to increase marks for understanding of theory and literature. First things first, do not underestimate the importance of depth of understanding. The most common thing that I find myself writing on essays when I'm giving feedback, and that's for level 1, 2, 3, all the way up to master's and MBA level, is don't just give us the headline news. It can be really tempting to want to go for a scattershot approach and bring in lots and lots of different things and a bit of everything that you've covered on the module. But what you're sacrificing there is actually showing understanding about something. And what you'll end up doing is maybe just giving one sentence. Here's an overview of a particular theory that I'm using, but you don't actually explore it. You quickly move on to something else to show how many things you know about. And your first challenge is to say, instead of just giving that headline news, how can you tell us something more about it? Is that just explaining some more about it in that first introductory part? Is that using the idea? Or is that providing a critique of that idea? Whatever it is, make sure that you provide depth by going into more detail and more description, analysis, and evaluation about those points. Number 2, breadth of knowledge. We started with depth because that's the most important thing and it's the most underappreciated aspect in any essay. So we still need to make sure that we are showing a good breadth of understanding. And if we look at that as a continuum, on one end, we would say there's an essay with no theory whatsoever, and there's absolutely no breadth. Coming on one stage from there, we would say, well, this is somebody who's just been paying attention to the lecture. So what they've done is they've taken a few references from the lecture and they've taken some of the quotes directly from the lecture and they've put that in. That shows some breadth of understanding, but not really very much because it's just saying that you've been to the lecture and you know how to copy things off of it. Anything beyond that is showing that you are actually paying attention and you are actually engaging with that module. So the basic tier from there is to take some of the references that have been explored in the lecture, think about how the lecturers use them and go to those references directly. That shows that you're engaging with what the lecturers are actually providing you with. You could then add to that by going and exploring the reading lists that have been provided for you. So with most modules, they'll give you a reading list that will add detail, add depth, and add complexity to the concepts that you've looked at so far. So if you want to really show off, you can then take those ideas that were covered in the lecture and add that extra reading to it. And the final stage, the most advanced stage, that is when you're doing further reading yourself. So have you made a really good point, but you don't have anything to back it up with? Or do you want to push a point that's been made in the lecture even further? In which case, then you can go and do some further reading and we'll provide some videos to suggest how to go and find literature. But breadth is also important and making sure you don't just use the lecture notes, but you're actually doing some further reading as well. And our third and final point is be careful where you reference. Oftentimes what we'll see when we're marking through student essays is there'll just be one little reference at the end of every paragraph. So there'll be a whole chunk of text and then there'll just be one little bit thrown in at the end. What you want your writing to look like is every paragraph to be almost peppered like a brick wall with references. So instead of there just being one at the end, we're actually seeing them integrated and weaved throughout the essay. And what that automatically communicates to the reader is that you're actually integrating and using that theory and that literature or those models as you work through. So to get higher marks for theory and for understanding of literature, don't just use literature in sparing one or two places, make sure that it's actually weaved throughout the whole piece. So in summary then, we have spoken about the importance of depth and doing more with less, rather than just taking a very scattershot approach and trying to bring everything in. We've spoken about the importance of breadth and doing wider reading, as well as integrating that reading throughout your work rather than just chucking it in a couple of places. Hopefully that's been really useful and a good way of thinking about how to increase your marks for theory and literature. If you enjoyed this, please make sure that you like and make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we'll be throwing out plenty more tips and tricks where this one came from. Good luck.